Hello and welcome to the ClearPath OS 2200 Release 19.0 live question and answer webinar. The theme of this release is empowering your ClearPath forward. Now we're doing things a little bit different in this webinar where we're going to be doing a live question and answer session. We'll preface that live Q&A portion with some material which I'll review shortly. But before I do that, just some housekeeping items. All chat functionality has been disabled. However, if you're interested in asking a question, please click on the Q&A tab at the bottom portion of your Zoom window. You'll see a pop-up box display where you can type your question, and we ask that you enter the text there and then hit send. We will see those questions enter our queue, and then we will then further address those questions during our live Q&A portion. Now on the Zoom call here with myself, we have a number of subject matter experts. From the Operations Sentinel development team, we have Bharath, we have Mohan from the EOM team, we have Adam Gallagher and Eric Horner from the ClearPath OS 2200 team, Chuck Lefebvre from ClearPath Forward, Hari Nair from EOM, Arun Ravindran from both EOM and Operation Sentinel, Betsy Rausch for ClearPath Forward Services, Mark Shimrock for ClearPath Forward, as well as Lokesha from Operation Sentinel. Now we have an action-filled agenda for you today. First, we'll start things off with a ClearPath Forward directional overview, talking more so to our future direction and strategy. Adam Gallagher will then go into our ClearPath OS 2200 19.0 highlights and highlight just a number of our key solutions before we dive into a bit of detail and show a demonstration on some of the new capabilities that you will receive in this release. We'll then go over some frequently asked questions as well as an open Q&A. So without further ado, I will hand things over to Chuck Lefebvre to dive into our directional overview.
Thanks very much, Bradley, and thank you for all of our clients for joining today. The session today is really focused primarily on the new software release that we just completed, OS 2200 19.0, and the related products such as EOM and Operation Sentinel that are available both to our OS 2200 and MCP clients. But we thought it would be useful here at the beginning to put that work, that body of work, into the context, the greater context of some of our key initiatives of what we are doing with and for our ClearPath OS 2200 systems. A lot of this is common between our two product lines, OS 2200 and MCP, but we'll focus here on that high-level story for our ClearPath OS 2200 environment. On the left side, our intent here is to show the choice that we're providing for how and where you execute your OS 2200 platforms. In the lower left, that integrated server-based architecture is those Dorado systems that you, the majority of you use, where you acquire the hardware from us in a cabinet. It's labeled a Dorado system, like a Dorado 8300, Dorado 4500 is the 45, 65, 85 are the current platforms that we introduced earlier this year. That's that integrated platform where Unisys provides the whole stack, software and hardware. And there's one place for you to go to get support. Last year, we introduced the software-based solution where you can run OS 2200 on x86 infrastructure that you choose, with storage that you choose, as long as it meets a reference architecture, and that you can deploy on virtualization platforms. At present time, that's VMware. We're working hard also now to add the top element of this stack to deploy OS 2200 in a public cloud. Our first choice there is Azure. We're working towards that. You may have seen we've already introduced MCP for Azure, and early next year we'll be doing so for OS 2200. That's not to diminish the two lower levels, the two other options. These will continue to be offered as offerings, an integrated system from Unisys, a private cloud offering essentially in red, and now in the future a public cloud. So we will act as a trusted advisor working with our clients to help them understand the best place for them to execute their OS 2200 workload. But just offering different places to execute it isn't enough in our opinion. We need to do things with and for our system software to enable your solutions that you have built and invested in that run on OS 2200 to operate in that modern world, to operate better in that modern world. So things like microservice interfaces with to enable you to build systems of engagement or interface to systems of engagement from your back-end systems of record that are implemented in OS 2200 based services. We've done some work already with ePortal and AIS to enable those microservices, and we're doing more. You will see more offerings from us as we go into 2021 to make that even stronger, to make the ClearPath environment be a better citizen in public cloud and do more cloud native integration. AI is becoming a more important element, whether it's inside the applications or smarter systems that do better advisory on security or fault failure. So we're looking at where we can improve our products there. The comprehensive software series is really talking about that stack on the left, the three options that I just described. You're going to hear a lot today from Adam about modern languages and the ability to run, execute it with Python, with Java, integrating tools like Git and other environments, enabling those systems to participate in more modern both production environments, perhaps with containers, and better use of DevOps tooling that's available in the industry. And while the initial deployments that we're doing for public cloud are really initially focused on replatforming, giving you the opportunity to run your OS 2200 system as is with our software in a public cloud, over time you're going to see a better integration into, not just on the cloud, sitting on it as a platform, but better integration into the cloud at the platform level as well as at the application level. So some of those key tenets that I've spoken to here, that modernization with the microservices front ends. The back end is really talking there about data exchange. And one of the things we just introduced is the ability to use our data exchange technology with DMS, OS 2200 DMS workloads. We'll be doing, later in October, we'll be doing a special focused webinar on those capabilities, but wanted you to know that we now have the ability to do both bulk data transfer and change data capture from our DMS, OS 2200 DMS into and process that out to external sources. So maybe take a look at that. Hardware agnostics and growing that workload to support lots of different deployment models. So try to just give a high level view here, put the big context in place, and now I'll turn it over to Adam to go into more detail on our OS 2200 19.0 and related products. Adam.
Thank you, Chuck, and welcome everybody. I'm going to spend some time here this morning kind of going over some of the high-level features and highlights of this release. Just to kind of set the stage, we had a great deal, almost over 50 new features for this release, and a high number of those came directly from you, our clients. From new feature suggestions or from interactions with me or with Chuck or other folks in our product management team. And so we're really taking a renewed focus in the last couple releases on and going forward on delivering content that will drive your business forward, that we know will drive your business forward. So as we start planning for the next release, release 20, I ask that if you've got any feature suggestions to please submit them through the proper channels, and we'll get those, start evaluating those and see if they're a good fit for release 20 as we go forward into planning that release. So there's a number of kind of highlights that I want to touch on today before we get into what Chuck mentioned as kind of the real big highlight of this release, which is our modern language capabilities. So this first new feature that I kind of want to touch on is the ability to initially configure and dynamically change the status of our NIC interfaces. So what I'm talking about there is whether they are up and enabled or down and disabled. So in the past, all the interfaces configured within ClearPath OS were brought up at initialization time. So really there was no way to take an interface offline to diagnose or resolve issues or for testing purposes, other than to terminate ClearPath OS and change the configuration and then restart it. So understandably, this situation was undesirable because that would cause a general communication outage for the system. So this feature just allows administrators to take those interfaces offline or bring them online at will without cycling ClearPath OS. So really giving you the flexibility to dynamically change that status. The second feature is an exec feature that really is, we think, going to save a lot of wall clock time for our clients. This feature provides performance improvements in the catalog file recovery. So what that really means is it's reducing the wall clock time of that catalog file recovery. And early testing at client sites here that have a couple of clients that have started to implement this already. One particular client has upwards of 400,000 files. And they saw their catalog file recovery time go from 6 minutes, about 6 minutes, down to 6 seconds. So quite a drastic change in that catalog file recovery time. The next one on the list there, the flexible configuration of trusted certificates, is the ability to fine-tune which certificates are considered trusted for which applications. So prior to this feature, ClearPath OS really trusted all certificates located in our search directory. And it now allows an administrator to use a new field to limit the certificates trusted to a subset of those residing in that directory. So really giving you the ability to fine-tune which are considered trusted. The fourth came from discussions with one of our largest clients in Europe. It came kind of late in our development process, but we were able to kind of shift focuses and agilely kind of put this into our work stream. It's really solving a real world problem. So now the Solar full screen processor will display a selection check window when a commit is entered. So when installing or uninstalling products, when you're unregistering packages and keys, and packaging installed products, the selection check window will give you a list of the selected products, packages, or keys, and it will allow you to either confirm or cancel the commit. So really giving you a snapshot of what you're actually going to be proceeding with. And then finally, new with release 19.0, we're bringing the basic ability to use DTP-RA in a containerized environment. Now, this is a basic ability, and we're going to be expanding on this with future enhancements to this ability in subsequent releases. So this is really driving some of our key customers and clients' use of this DTP resource adapter, really central to the way they do business. And we wanted to be able to provide containerization support in that area. So stay tuned for further improvements in that area in subsequent releases. So now I want to take a few minutes and talk about one of the real highlights and major features of this release, and that's bringing Python, Java, and Git to the OS 2200. So what am I really talking about? Well, we've got a new infrastructure in place that enables a lot of new technology and capabilities within the system. And the nice thing about it is the sister environment that's running next to the normal processing environment within OS 2200. When things are running over in that new environment, it looks just like a native OS 2200 program running. You get all the same initialization, termination, management control, security control, file access control, user control, all that you're used to on the OS 2200 now in this new operation environment. Our first focus here of this release is really around scripting, some SSG and ECL like use cases, but really what we're striving to do is provide our clients with the opportunity to go out and get Python and Java talent instead of going out and getting COBOL talent. So getting more with the assumption that, you know, Python and Java talent is more readily available, might be a little bit cheaper within the marketplace to go out and get that talent as opposed to the less available COBOL talent, and be able to use Python and Java for transaction and batch processing. So at this time, I'd like to switch over and kind of give you a demo of a new capability that this infrastructure enables, and that's the ability to have an SGS parser. So again, a technology that my SGS and SSG that you might have limited capabilities within your development teams on who knows those sort of technologies, now giving them an alternative within modern languages. So let me switch to that and we'll get this playing. The extension kit for OS 2200 includes a Python module named ssgpy that provides a parser for SGSs. In this demo, you'll see an example of how the module parses a file of SGSs into a Python dictionary of label statement pairs, where each statement is a list of fields. Let's take a look at a set of SGSs in a file called demo.sgs. We'll use the @nx processor provided by the extension kit to do a cat of the file. Note that our current working directory is the one containing this file. We set this previously by cding to it in @sysut. Now let's go into the Python shell using @python. First, simply import the SSG module. Then call the parse_SGS method, passing in the name of the file containing the SGSs. This populates the ssg.sgs dictionary. At this point, you can use standard dictionary and list operations to access fields and subfields in the SGSs. You'll notice that referencing the SGSs in the dictionary is in some ways similar to using standard SGS references. Here, we perform more standard list operations on the fields. We can use standard list methods to add some fields, or standard dictionary operations to add another label. Here, we have some simple iteration. It's easy to unparse the dictionary as well. As you can see, the SSG module can be used as a replacement or alternative to existing SGS references. Here, we'll show you two functionally equivalent scripts, one using SSG, the other using Python. They both look through the product install SGSs within sys$data$ and find all installation files for each install of a given product, in this case, RDMS. Here is the SSG script and its output. And here is the Python script that does the same thing. As you can see, it's quite a bit shorter and more intuitive than the SGS references used in the SSG script. And there you have it, some of the new powerful capabilities enabled by ClearPath Extension Kit for OS 2200. Now available with release 19.0, where we are securing your tomorrow today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. All right, so that was just an overview there of some of the new capabilities that this new infrastructure really brings to the table within ClearPath Forward. It's available now today with release 19.0. With the release came a number of different resources to kind of get up to speed on what the technology has to offer. We've got a couple of blog articles out on unisys.com. Some product demo videos will be rolled out in our YouTube channel, as well as a Python white paper that really goes into a little bit more detail on why Python is a suitable language for some of the stuff we're trying to do. Some of the client feedback has been really positive so far early on in the adoption. One of our larger clients that participated in our field test efforts called it the greatest thing since sliced bread. So just kind of really great feedback on what the capabilities are bringing, the direction we're going with this. So we're really excited to see what our clients can make use of this new technology. It's supported on our current systems. There are firmware levels that you need to be up on in order to run this. The Dorado firmware does have a component within it that is required for this technology to run. So you can see those listed there, and then support for the 43, 63, and A300 is planned later in September. And where are we going with this in the future? Well, we really want to drive where we go from our client feedback and our client response. And so far, that's been centered around providing performant production quality level database access to RDMS, DMS, and to transactions as well. So that's where we're going to focus initially. We're also talking with a number of our clients about how we can expand this into various DevOps arenas. I touched on the notion that we're bringing Git to the OS 2200, and that's true. We're also bringing support for SVN as well, and we're in kind of discussions with how can we bring various DevOps tool sets into the equation, things like CM+, things like Jenkins, and really try to elevate and improve upon the workflows that our clients are using within their organizations. So right now, what we'll do here is we'll pause for a couple of poll questions. Bradley, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Adam. So right now we're launching our first poll where we just want to gauge the excitement that you guys have for the modern language support. So please select your response and then click submit. We'll be able to see those results, and I'll give it another few moments here for the scores to aggregate. While we wait for these responses to come in, just a reminder, if anybody would like to submit a question, please click on the Q&A tab found at the bottom of your Zoom window, and then type your question in that pop-up box that appears, and then click submit, and then we'll see that in our queue, and we'll answer that shortly during our Q&A portion of the presentation. Okay, just another moment. Okay, another 5 seconds, and then I'll launch the next poll. Okay. Just another poll similar to these lines here. This poll is regarding which programming language or languages are you interested in using to augment and develop new ClearPath Forward applications? You have the option to select multiple languages here, but of the options, you have Python, you have Java, JavaScript, C++, C# or .NET. Perhaps you prefer COBOL or something else that we don't have listed here. And if you're unsure, please select that option. And once again, please select your option or options and then click submit. That way we'll be able to see those results in our tally here. We'll give it a few more moments just for all the scores to come in here. All right, just another 10 seconds here. I see getting a lot of responses. All right, 5 more seconds. All right, thank you. Thank you all for the responses here. Adam, I'll turn things back over to you.
Thank you, Bradley. Next, I want to kind of step into a little bit around release and support. As you can see, we're going to continue the new every 2-year major release cycle for major releases. We've got release 19.0 that came out at the end of July. We've got release 20.0 targeted for second quarter of 2022. As we are also continuing the ability to skip one release level when upgrading, so those clients who are on release 17.0 today have the option to move up to 18 as normal, or the ability to skip release 18 and move directly to release 19.0. How to do that is outlined within our migration documentation. Really great documentation there on how to do that. If you haven't given it a read, I would highly suggest doing it as well. The platforms that are listed with an asterisk and highlighted in yellow are the last release that are supporting those platforms. So as you can see here, the 8363 and 4300s, release 19.0 will be the last release that supports those platforms. And I think we're planning a couple more poll questions, so back to you, Bradley.
Thanks again, Adam. All right, let's launch our next poll regarding adoption timeline. First, we'll launch the OS 2200 19.0 poll here. When do you think you will upgrade to ClearPath OS 2200 release 19.0? We have several options here. In the next 3 months, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, 13 plus months, or perhaps you're skipping this release. And once again, we ask that you select your option and then click submit, and we'll be able to see those results on our side. Just give it a few more moments here for those scores to aggregate. And once again, as we're waiting for those scores, I'll just remind everybody, those interested in submitting a question can do so using the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Please click that box. You'll see a pop-up. Type your question in that the window that appears there, and then click send, and we'll see that in our queue. I see we've already have a few questions here, which we will address momentarily. All right, let me close this poll. And then we will launch our next poll. And this is regarding Extension Kit adoption. Similar question. When do you think you will use ClearPath Extension Kit for OS 2200 modern languages within your ClearPath environment? Is it in the next 3 months, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, 13 plus months, or perhaps you're going to skip that capability? And once again, we ask that you select your option and then click submit so that we can see those results on our end. Okay, just another moment or two here. So we're seeing these responses flow in. All right. All right, just another few seconds. Last few votes trickling in. And we will close this poll as well. All right, thank you. Back over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Bradley. As we wrap up here today and get into the Q&A portion, I really just want to finish by highlighting where you can go for more information. In addition to unisys.com, /ClearPath, unisys.com/blogs, where we do all of our blogging. I want to bring attention to the Unisys ClearPath YouTube channel. We're putting a lot of content out there. The demo you saw today will be posted out there in the coming days, as well as other product demos, security overview videos. A couple of directional videos from Chuck have been put out there. So really, it's a really great resource and spot to get and stay up to date. So I recommend everyone go click subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you get notified when new content gets posted, and stay up to date with Unisys ClearPath. I will turn it back over to you, Bradley, to moderate the Q&A portion.
Thank you, Adam. Before we jump into the Q&A, we have a number in our queue right now. But before that, just as another reminder, please click on that Q&A tab at the bottom portion of your window. You'll see that pop-up appear, similar to what's being displayed on your screen here. And then you can type your question in that box and click submit. And we will see those on our side, and your question will be read here and answered momentarily. So let's dive into the first question that we see here from, well, Adam, perhaps this is, you could best answer this one. What Python releases is included in the extension kit? Can the customer upgrade this? The demo used 3.6.10. We currently use Python 3.8.5. So I guess in addition to this, maybe perhaps also communicating the supported releases for this extension kit release.
Yeah, so the versions that we released with this infrastructure are 3.6.10, as you saw, and 2.7.14. We really recommend that that our clients stay on the release content that we provide with the release. Our goal is to update as security fixes and other capabilities come out. If you have a need for a different release level and are interested in using it, I highly suggest you get a hold of your Unisys rep so they can get a hold of me, and we will try to work out a solution for you to if possible, to utilize a different level.
Thanks, Adam. The next question, similar. So up to now, Python, can Python only be used instead of SSG?
The answer to that is yes, right now.
Okay. And when do you plan that Python could be used for developing HVTIP, OLTP transactions triggered through DTPRA, accessing DMS and RDMS resources?
Yeah, so access to DMS and RDMS and TIP transactions are coming, we're targeting that for subsequent releases for really performant transaction support. We don't have that capability in this initial release to really provide high performant throughput to those access to those databases. So we're looking at and evaluating what a release schedule looks like for this, and whether or not we can continue with a 2-year release cycle if we need to do something that's more rapid to support this. So we're in evaluations with that right now, and but those support for those features that you talked about there, Bradley, in that question would be coming in a subsequent release.
Thank you for that, Adam. Let me see. Another question. Does the extension kit support other source control repositories besides Git?
Yeah, so as I think I mentioned it earlier in my discussion, but we also are supporting SVN subversion as well as Git in this initial release.
Perfect, perfect. Another question, how is the extension kit licensed?
Yeah, so initially within this release, the extension kit is going to be pre-bundled into all of your UOEs and IOEs at no additional charge. So for this initial release, you'll be getting it for free, included within your UOEs and IOEs. And then the subsequent releases, we may do something separately priced or charge a license fee for it. But for this initial release, there is no charge for it. It's just another product that you install and have a solar key for.
That sounds exciting. So as clients upgrade to OS 2200 release 19.0, this will be included as a part of their software bundle. That's amazing.
That's correct. And as long as you're on the firmware levels for your Dorado systems that I outlined earlier today, you'll be able to make use of the technology.
Very good, very good. Betsy, perhaps you could help us with the next question here regarding some of the services. Are there any services available to support a client interested in ClearPath Extension Kit for OS 2200?
Thanks, Bradley. Sure. You know, like our other integration technologies and solutions that we have available, things like ePortal, Data Exchange, or resource adapters and others, you know, we have a series of services available anywhere from assessing, you know, working with you, understanding the technology, best fit for it in your environment, to things like proofs of concept, all the way to helping you install the product and even help you implement the solution that you're looking to leverage that technology with. So we will have those available for the extension kit as well.
Thanks, Betsy. Let me, another more, I guess, directional question here. What stealth integration work is being done with OS 2200 and ClearPath Forward? Adam, perhaps you can help address that question?
Yeah, so a lot of work is underway actually. A little bit further along with Stealth Core, I think, than maybe something like Stealth Identity. But Stealth Identity, we're doing a couple of POCs right now and how we can fold Stealth Identity into the ClearPath OS 2200 environment. And right now we're working with a couple of clients actually to roll out Stealth Core into their enterprise as a whole. And our ClearPath Forward systems would just be another system within those enterprises, utilizing and benefiting from this world-class microsegmentation and dynamic isolation tool that is Stealth Core.
Thanks, Adam. Let me pause a moment from the Q&As. Let me launch another poll that we have here planned, and this is really surrounding your public cloud preference. The question here, which public cloud or public clouds are you currently using or planning to use within your enterprise? And we have a number of selections here, and you can select more than one. Is it Amazon Web Services, AWS? Perhaps it's Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, Oracle Cloud, the IBM Cloud, perhaps another cloud solution, or perhaps this is not cloud, use of public cloud is not currently in your strategic plans at the moment, and you'd want to select none. All right. And again, we ask that you select your choice or choices and then click submit so that we can see those results on our side here. We'll give it just a few more moments for the responses to tally. All right. All right, we'll close that poll. And just again, another reminder, if you'd like to submit a question, please click that Q&A tab at the bottom portion of your Zoom window. You'll see a pop-up box appear similar to what's displayed on the screen here. And then just enter your question in that text field and then click send, and we'll see that question on our side. All right, let's go to the questions one more time here, and let's see. I think this one more so for you, Arun, surrounding EOM. What are some of the new features in our EOM 14.2 release?
Thanks, Bradley. So EOM 14.2, I'd like to start by saying that is a minor release. And many of our customers have suggested some of the features that we have included in that release. One of which is setting the PDF resolution for the PDF writer. So if you use PDF writer, you would now have more options to select higher resolution for your PDF files. Another capability we added was the ability to create TIFF files with black and white and grayscale colors. Another capability that some of our customers wanted was to modify the carriage control so that continuous feed forms could be supported. We also added a feature to include the backup attribute name in the EOM logs. And finally, every release we look into new qualifications and operating system changes. So this release supports Windows Server 2019. People who are going for a tech refresh might want to look into this particular release if you are interested in Windows Server 2019. So those were, in a nutshell, what we have included in EOM 14.2. Okay, back to you, Bradley.
Yep, thanks, Arun. Don't go too far. We have another question as well that you could perhaps address for us. Similar question, but for Operation Sentinel. What new features are included in Operation Sentinel 18.0?
Sure. So in 18.0, we have included some of the capabilities based on, again, new feature requests, one of which was the difficulty when you're using the ADBM database file in a multi-user environment. So now 18.0 would automatically lock when a user starts using ADBM database, so that another user would get a notification and would be able to use it when it's no longer being used by anyone else. So this really helps if you have a multi-user environment with an Operation Sentinel ADBM being in use. Another great security related feature was the concern that we are using remote registry reads. From 18.0 onwards, we are eliminating that requirement so that the client server communication is happening without using remote registry reads. Another capability we added was to give flexibility at the time of installation to set where the output directory needs to be, so that if you have an overflowing C drive or a very constrained spaced drives, you can always select where your output location needs to go. Another feature was a productivity feature. So if you are using the log viewer quite frequently and you're monitoring it quite closely, we have introduced an auto refresh capability with a user settable auto refresh timeout, so that you can keep checking the log without having to manually refresh it. Another feature we added was a number of wizards. So as you know, Operation Sentinel provides you the capability to not just set up a new system, but also to manage a system using its excellent wizard-based interface. So from this release, we are going to support the sale-based Dorado X300, X400, and X500s, as well as the ClearPath software series for the OS 2200. So these were, in a nutshell, what the features were for Operation Sentinel 18.0.
Thanks, Arun. And another question here: does Operation Sentinel support IPv6?
Yes, we do. I'm sorry, which version? Well, this particular version does not. We are planning to include that in the next release. That's Op Sentinel 19.0 would have support for IPv6.
Very good, thank you, thank you. I see we have another question regarding the extension kit as well. What capabilities are available to run Java on OS 2200? Adam, perhaps you can help us answer that question?
So hopefully I answered this question the way it was intended. But the capabilities that enable Java to run on OS 2200 are, there's a second, as I mentioned earlier, there's a second kind of execution environment that sits next to the standard environment within the OS 2200. So what happens is if a new processor command comes in, for instance, an @Python or an @Java comes in, the standard environment recognizes that that's for its sister environment, and it hands processing control over to that new environment. It uses CIFS as an intermediary to communicate between the two. It does its processing within the new environment, and then it hands back control back to the standard environment. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. And that's the same for both Java and Python within the system, how it kind of hands it back and forth. And it's all enabled by the extension kit scaffolding.
Very good, Adam. Thank you. Another question just came in. When will you align your Operation Sentinel level with a ClearPath level? Arun,
Okay,
I don't know if you can. Yep.
Yeah, I believe this is related to the level numbering system that we are using, if I understand it right. Unfortunately, we have to follow the sequence, so it's something that might happen if we decide to skip a release, or in the future we decide to align the numbering system. But for now, I'm sorry, we have to follow the sequence that has been set in history. So yeah, there would be a slight, off by one version numbering between Operation Sentinel and CP.
Yes, and we'll follow up just to understand any challenges that this arises at your particular site for the individuals who asked that question.
Definitely, yeah.
Just to ensure that we're always interested in reducing any friction from our client's perspective, from your perspective there. So we'll follow up as well, just to better understand how we can alleviate some of those concerns. Another question: can we use Java for developing HVTIP and OLTP transactions accessing DMS and RDMS?
So
previously we asked for Java and
yeah, so
Python rather.
The long answer is we're looking at ways to allow you to augment or extend your existing transactions and accessing DMS and RDMS. The capability for performant transaction access to RDMS and DMS is not there today. It's something we're looking at for the future.
Thanks, Adam. All right, let me, we're getting close to the planned duration for this webinar here. We did want to launch our final poll just to better understand what you thought of this particular new webinar format here. This is something that we're exploring and just looking for some feedback into whether we do more of these or perhaps we pivot more so back to the traditional webinar format here. But the question is, what did you think of this live question and answer format? Did you find it helpful and we need to do more of these? Perhaps it was helpful, but you still like the webinar format. You may be indifferent to the approach, or you may prefer the traditional webinar. What we're asking is just please provide your response. Click on the necessary option or choice, and then click send or submit so that we can then see those results here. I'll give it just a few more moments just as some of these votes come in here. About 70% of the audience has responded roughly. Let me just give it a few more moments just for the others to provide some input here as well. And again, just please select the option on that pop-up box. Select your choice and then click submit so that we can see those results. All right. All right. Just another moment here. Last couple of votes coming in. All right, let me close this poll. And let's also close this webinar as well. We appreciate your attendance. Thank you once again for joining us. Amongst these difficult times, we understand that you are pulled in all sorts of direction as we look to embrace this new normal and what that looks like. But we do appreciate the time that you spent with us today. We will be having some additional webinars later this year as well. As always, the best way to stay aware of all of our latest and greatest enhancements and communications, please subscribe to our communications. We also have a LinkedIn group, as Adam mentioned earlier, where we also communicate a lot of the enhancements to the program there as well. So with that, I will close this webinar here, and wish you all have a great rest of the day, morning, afternoon, and evening. Take care.